To protect its citizens from the insidious temptations of chaos, the Imperium of Man long did its best to hide the existence of the Chaos Gods, demons, and the Chaos Space Marines from public knowledge. Only certain Space Marines, sanctioned Psykers, and the members of the Inquisition were permitted to know the Imperium's darkest secret. It was long inquisitorial policy to mind-wipe even members of the Adeptus Astartes, including entire chapters in some cases, after exposure to the demonic. All others are either put to death after exposure to the reality of chaos to protect the Imperium from their possible corruption, or if they have been a valuable servant to the Imperium, they are allowed to live, but required to undergo memory modification, or even, in extreme cases, a mind wipe. This is a policy that has been in place since before the Emperor was interred within the Golden Throne, when only he and his Primarchs knew that the warp contained intelligent entities capable of possessing individuals in real space. But even the Emperor did not reveal to his Primarchs during the Great Crusade the full truth. That the warp was not just a seething cauldron of psychic energies inhabited by entities similar to xenos, but was actually populated by malign intelligences akin to the supernatural beings of ancient human myth and superstition. He chose not to explain that the Imperium was dominated by the ruinous powers and the demonic servants, for fear that this knowledge alone would lead too many of the Primarchs to take actions that would inevitably result in their corruption. To fight a demon army is to fight a twisting tornado of unreason and despair that forever changes those who must confront its horror. As such, the Imperium believes that it cannot allow the knowledge that such foes actually exist to spread, since even the simple knowledge of chaos's existence may mark the start of an individual's fall to damnation. The human survivors of conflicts with the demonic were invariably confronted by the agents of the Inquisition and mind-wiped, quarantined for life in forced labor camps, or even in extreme cases, made the subjects of a worldwide exterminatus event. Over the eons, the galaxy has witnessed warp-based catastrophes and demonic incursions beyond counting. Since the inception of the Inquisition after the Horus Heresy, even the fact that such a thing is possible is deemed too dangerous for the citizens of the Imperium to know, for such knowledge breeds heresy as surely as a fly-blown corpse breeds maggots. Because of this, the vast majority of knowledge concerning demonic incursions has been eradicated from extant imperial public records by the actions of the Inquisition. What is known is recorded only in prescribed imperial texts and heretical xenos scripts that the Inquisition has yet to destroy. However, in the wake of the opening of the Great Rift at the start of the Era Indomitus, this policy of secrecy has been somewhat relaxed, at least for the Adeptus Astartes, due to necessity. Before the opening of the Great Rift, the vast majority of Astartes were expected to be as ignorant about the existence of demons as any other citizen of the Imperium. In truth, it was hard to find an Astartes who had not fought demons at some point by the end of the 41st millennium. Yet the Inquisition in the time of ending was well known to mind-wipe entire chapters after certain incidents, though not every chapter was willing to submit. Some, like the Space Wolves, resisted any intrusion on their traditional autonomy forcefully, and retained their institutional knowledge of how to fight demons. But in the era Indomitus, with the galaxy now riven in half by the birth of the Cicatrix Maledictum, demonic incursions are so common and Space Marine responses so necessary that suppressing the knowledge of the existence of demons among the Astartes has simply become pointless. Now I will explain the Ordos's organization. The Ordo is led by the Inquisitor Lords known as the Hidden Masters. Unlike the other Ordos of the Inquisition, the Ordo Malleus has a more rigid and formalized hierarchical structure. It is controlled by a council of 169 Inquisitor Lords known as Masters, all of whom have the right to have a direct audience with the Emperor himself within the inner sanctum of the Imperial Palace if they so request. Their authority even extends to the inquisitorial representative to the Senatorum Imperialis, some of whom have been tried and executed by the Masters of the Ordo in times past. Below the Masters are the Inquisitors, known as the Proctors and Proctors Minor, with each being responsible for the leadership of a chamber practical of the Ordo Malleus. The chambers practical themselves are named after their founding Proctor and serve as the basic organizational unit of the Ordo. Inquisitors Ordinary form the rank and file of the Ordo, while there exists a parallel organization called the Chambers Theoretical and Historical that consists of agents known as Inquisitors Historical. Inquisitors Historical are drawn from the older members of the Order who are unable to continue their active service, either due to ill health, injury, or infirmity. Instead, they are assigned research and data collation projects at the Inquisitorial and Administratum libraries. Within the Chambers Practical, there are perhaps only a few hundred Inquisitors Ordinary and Historical in total across the galaxy. The Chambers Theoretical and Historical, for their part, possess in total only a few score members that are engaged in research and disputation, whilst the Chambers Practical are comprised of hundreds of Inquisitors who are responsible for operating within the various inquisitorial sector conclaves of which the Ordo Malleus is a part, and joining with agents of the other Ordos of that conclave in the field. The Ordo Malleus works directly under the Emperor's warrant, and thus has a completely free hand in its operations. This means that an Inquisitor Ordinary of this Ordo is able to demand anything they see fit from any adepter or armed service of the Imperium in order to accomplish their duty with no explanation being offered. Any Imperial servant that meets with an Ordo Malleus Inquisitor must comply and obey their command. The most common demand made by them is for troops to support their operations, though such forces rarely survive in the service of an Inquisitor Ordinary. This is not necessarily viewed as a problem by the Inquisitor, however, as they would be forced to mind-wipe or otherwise eliminate those troops who have served them, have been exposed to the realities of chaos. However, high public honors are given to those Imperial units that are attached to the Ordo Malleus should they die in the service of the Inquisition, though the campaigns upon which these honors are earned remain sealed in the archives of the Ordos. Their members tend to favor simple yet sinister uniforms, with black, loose-fitting habits over their armor, along with large hoods that hide their features in shadow. Graphic electus are an unofficial yet traditional addition to this uniform for many Malleus Inquisitors, as their glowing appearance beneath the skin adds a disturbing quality to their appearance, which they find useful in seeking to intimidate outsiders with an air of menace and mystery. By tradition, these Inquisitors tend to have one lectu for each coven of witches or heretics that they have discovered and cleansed. As such, for the oldest members, it is not uncommon for elaborate electu designs to be inscribed all across their body. These designs have been fixed for generations, with the symbols intended to recall in a stylized manner each of the various demons and other chaos foes that the Inquisitor has faced and defeated. The rarely seen or used badge of the Ordo Malleus takes the form of the Imperial Aquila holding a rod and an axe in each talon, which is worn either on the shoulder or on the right breast. Masters and proctors of the Ordo Malleus are always Psykers who carry force rods as a symbol of their authority, though in combat engagements this is often supplemented with a power weapon of the Inquisitor's choice.